Welcome everyone. My name is Brian Irwin. I'm the CEO of Think Healthy Me. And we inspire you to live a healthy lifestyle to achieve the very best version of yourself. That is our mission. There's nothing more important than health in this life. I'm aware that when everyone attends, because we have quite a number of people who've not logged on yet, that at least 6, including the speakers and myself, live healthy lifestyles. So we are hoping to learn from you, the delegates, about your lifestyle, as well as you learning from the 2 speakers, Janet and Elizabeth. Our board meeting asked what were the delegates' needs following the pandemic and COVID-19. 17 months, and the obvious answers were they want hope and to feel safe. And the board designed this webinar in order to achieve those outcomes. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we meet your needs. We tried to write our own version of a healthy lifestyle, and when I got to 250 words, I thought, well, this is far too long and difficult to understand. So one of our board members came up with a great idea and created a template about healthy lifestyle. And we are continuing to design this. But at the end of this webinar, we will give you sight of the template, which will help you to learn what your lifestyle is like and what you need to do to improve it. I'd like to mention the program. We are going to stick strictly to a timetable. My introduction is 5 minutes, and I'm timing myself. Then it will be Jeanette Durham for 15 minutes. Following that, we will have 10 minutes interactive, where we'll hear your suggestions and ideas, and you can question the speakers on any points you would like to. We are recording this, and at the moment, you're all on mute, and that is deliberate so that people can speak uninterrupted. 11:30, Elizabeth will actually be doing a presentation, and that will be followed by 10 minutes questions. And Bradley will actually manage the question time. Bradley is a director and colleague. And at 11:55, we will close. And I promise we will do our level best to keep on time. So I'd like to introduce Janet, who is a director and an associate of Think Healthy Me. And you have read her introduction. So nothing further from me, and over to you, Janet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. I'm just going to do you see my screen? You do.
Yes, it's got the Zoom thing up at
I'm
the
just
moment.
I'm just going to get rid of, hang on, get rid of this. Hang on. Oh, click it away. I had it already. There we go. Well, I'm very honored to be a board member of Think Healthy Me, because we all have the same heart and we want to bring out the message to help people realize that they have choices, and the choices you make all the difference. So we now know, because of what's happened in the last couple of years, that health is wealth. And if we invest in our health, we have much better chance of surviving anything that may come our way. So it has been a huge wake-up call, especially for me. And little did I know 6 years ago when I was studying nutrition, why I was. When I'd finished my course, the owner of the company said, now go out and share your information with the world. So here I am. And I have hours of information, so I have to fit it into 15 minutes. So I'm going to go and start now. So the first thing we're going to cover is lifestyle choices, how food becomes us. Food, it's the most intimate thing that you can do, food that you eat, and it literally becomes us. And we create and our life and ourselves differently, and it's all to do with the choices we make. So we're going to cover the factors influencing health, primary and secondary foods, bioindividuality, the senses, eating habits, and digestion, and the second brain. I'm also a member of the scientific board for a global company called Essence for Life, and I'm an integrated nutritional coach. The factors that influence our health. So this is age, gender, DNA, genetics, climate, culture, and environment. So as we said, we create our lives and ourselves differently, and it's the choices we make with this that actually makes the difference. And we have the most direct influence on our lifestyle choices. So looking at our choices and making conscious decisions is serving us with our health. First thing we talk about is primary food. Now, when I was studying, I thought primary food is the food we eat, but in fact, the most important is self-care, looking at our lives, and it's to do with our relationships, physical environment, life plan, and spirituality. It all has to be in balance. So if we look at our relationships now, it's been a real challenge for many people. They've been isolated. Human beings, the most important thing for us is to be connected. And if we're not connected, we actually get very ill. Then we look at our physical environment, our home. Is our home toxic? Our finances, have we got healthy finances? Are we getting enough sleep and exercise? And everybody has a different choice. Not one exercise is good for everyone. It's to find out which one works for you. Then we have our life plan. A lot of people have careers that they don't actually enjoy, but they have to do it because they have to put food on the table. And mainly or mostly it's not the right food choices, which is a huge shame. It's getting worse. As you can see, young people are getting old people's diseases. So it's very important to find out what your unique calling is and doing that. And it's not about, making a lot of money and having a big car. It's finding out what is working for you. And I found it. It's taken me many, many years. I'm very grateful. But there's a lot of people that actually go to their grave and they say, I think I lived the wrong life. And our spirituality, it could be a walk, going for a run, going to the church, meditating, whatever suits you. And that's time out. Then we talk about our secondary food. And the secondary food is actually what nurtures and sustains us. And of course, everybody's different. So we call that bioindividuality. What works for some person can be poison for another. So we're all unique, and we all have unique belief systems. And because of the fact that we're made up of so many, genetic blueprint of our past generations, some people can actually thrive on some foods and other people actually get allergies and they cannot eat this certain food. So the first thing we do when we're born is we breathe. So important. There are people who actually, they're called breatharians. I mean, it's amazing, but they live just by breathing alone and from the light. So our oxygen is essential for utilizing nutrients and creating healthy cells. So the quality of the breathing and how deeply we breathe affects the balance, vitality and longevity of our lives. The next thing we do is we drink water. If we do not drink water within a week, I think we will actually, or maybe even less, we won't survive. So our bodies are 60 to 70% water. When we're born, we're 90% water. This earth is actually 70% water. How important is water for us? So it's essential for life and for our digestion. It forms our saliva and it converts food to components. Mucous membrane keeps it moist and flushing our body waste. There's a man called Dr. Emoto. You can look him up on YouTube. He's actually proven that water has memory, and if you give water a good message, or you put something like gratitude on a bottle or a glass, or you have that intention, it will actually vibrate in your body and create that whatever you decide. And also he's proven that if there's something bad, you have something, maybe anger or something, you put on the water, a little sticker, it can actually affect the water and make it damaged. And he has proven that. You can look it all up. It's fantastic. So feeding ourselves uniquely. So we experience life through our senses: ears, nose, eyes, mouth, and skin. So we create our life through our thoughts, and especially how we feel about our thoughts. That's very important. There's something you can try, which is actually quite interesting. If you get an essential oil or a smell, and you try it and you decide what it brings up for you, and then give it to somebody else, and you'll see that the other person might have another memory. It might remind you of Christmas, and it might remind somebody else of a wedding, and that's how unique we are. How your subconscious mind can affect our digestion and eating habits. 95% of our brain is our subconscious, which is old belief systems and recordings playing out over and over again. Our world is created by a collective world of the same thoughts, mainly self-sabotaging. So it's very important to become conscious of your thoughts and to change them from negative to positive. Having positive mindset is actually creating also a very much happier person. And digestion is processing. So we need to look at all the experiences and emotions, and it's about allowing, accepting, digesting, assimilating, and utilizing. So if you look at just a few of our organs in our body, this is first of all to see what I was saying earlier: sexuality, joy, social life, relationships. All these things have to be in balance. And you can actually see if you have, say, a very good social life, but your health is low, that's going to affect your health. So everything you have to look at the parts of your life that are not healthy and then concentrate on those to create this balance in your life. So as you know, there's some people who live really, really strictly healthy food, but they're not healthy because something else in their life is not working. The digestive system. So we're just going to quickly cover that, and then I'll be finished with my presentation. So we know our skin is the largest organ in our bodies, and our brain and our gut are talking to each other all day. 10,000 times a day, they are communicating with each other. So as I say, the skin is the first, and then we have our digestive system. If you were to open up your digestive system, it would cover a whole football field, and also your brain. And if you look at them, they're both very similar. And there's a vagus nerve on either side of your neck that actually connects your organs to your brain, and your gut is actually in charge of your life. You've got a happy gut, you have a happy life. So if you look at first of all, what you do is food goes into your mouth, and that's actually allowing. What are you allowing into your body, and what are you allowing into your life? So that's the first part. And then the next is your stomach, and the stomach is actually accepting. And accepting is, are you accepting the life events and the emotions in your life And are you going to be irritated? Are you going to be, if you've got an irritation, that's going to cause a problem with your stomach. So that's allowing what's coming into your life, allowing what's coming into your body. Now, the next one is we have the gallbladder. So the gallbladder are things, running smoothly in your life. It's all to do with fatty acids. It keeps everything nice and oily and smooth. So that's very important to look at. And then we look at the pancreas. Of course, we know that the pancreas, without a pancreas, we won't survive. Very important. And we need to look at utilization. So is life too difficult? If you look at your, things going on in your life, and of course we're eating way, way too much sugar, which is basically, our pancreas is just worn out. And then if we look at our small intestine, that's all about assimilating what we do and we don't want. So we know when we are in a stress situation, our digestive system closes down, and this creates a huge amount of problems, leaky gut syndrome, IBS. And it also, because we have cortisol, all of the food goes into our fat cells, and it creates obesity. And then we have our large intestine. A large intestine is all about letting go. Are we letting go of things in our life? If we're hanging on, we will actually have a very big problem with our stools. And don't forget our liver, which is so important. And are you protecting your body? Because it's all about toxicity. If you're having toxic relationships, it can affect your liver, and of course, toxic food. So that's the first part of a big part. I hope you got some use out of this information, and thank you very much for listening.
Are you frozen? Are you finished, or have you frozen?
Was that 15 minutes?
Well, you beat that, actually. So thank you. Yeah, Janet has so much knowledge that I learn something new every time I listen to her. And she definitely speeded up her presentation. So thank you, Janet. So I'd like Bradley to take the interactive session. This is where we, Think Healthy Me, learn from you, because you have a lot of knowledge about health and well-being, and we want to learn as much from you as you learn from us. So over to you, Bradley.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Brian, and thank you especially to Jeanette for her presentation today. I found it very useful, and I too learned some very important messages. So, anyone here today got any questions? And if so, feel free to unmute yourself or ask in the chat. So, over to you guys.
So sorry, I'm laughing because I'm positive you got questions, but it's not unusual not to ask them. So we have got 9 minutes to spare.
I'll ask a question if you don't mind, Jeanette.
Yeah,
Go
ahead.
You said about Dr. Emoto on YouTube. How do you spell his name?
E-M-O-T-O.
E-M-O-T-O.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay.
He's got a book. He's actually passed away of old age, but his son is kind of taking over his business. But it's just incredible when you see he's got videos on YouTube. Yeah, because water has memory, and water is everything, So if we have to at least start, I always say to people, start with air and water and good food, and that can transform your health. It doesn't have to be, that's all, really. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Anyone else got any questions?
I'd like to ask one if there's none of the audience who'd like to ask one.
Okay, Brian.
I mentioned that I come across healthy people, including the presenters and myself. And I had the pleasure of meeting first time someone I'd known business-wise for 5 months. And we had a social meeting. And I had formed an idea of the age of this person, which was a lovely lady. Isabel, are you prepared to talk about your lifestyle?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. That's very generous of you, Brian. So yeah, what Brian's talking about is we did have a lovely social meeting, which was great. It's so strange to do something social, so we really enjoyed that. And my idea of a social drink was a drink of hot water with lemon in it, which is something, depending on how fancy I'm feeling or the weather, for a long time. And that's because I actually don't like tea or coffee. I really can't stand this stuff. For me, and this comes back to the bio-individuality, I can taste the tannins in the stuff. So for me, tea and coffee taste of aluminium. And it's pretty much the same thing with wine. So this took us on to a conversation where, in which I explained that I really drink very rarely at all. Because I can taste the tannin. So when I was young, sort of 18, 19, I would go out drinking with friends. Not on my own, only ever with my friends. But quite quickly, the novelty wore off. And I decided, actually, I don't see the point in spending a lot of money that I didn't have to spare on something I really didn't enjoy. So I just didn't go down that track. And years earlier, I decided the same about tea and coffee. I can't see why adults are so stupid to drink this horrible, nasty brown stuff that tastes so bad, and it stains the teacup. So what's it doing to my insides as well, you know? So consequently, I've drunk a lot of water over the years, and so my skin is really rather good because I've also stayed out of the sun because I don't like the sun. And I'm often, you probably can't tell because with the video, but I'm often thought of as being quite a bit younger than I am because my skin's good. And I put that down to not drinking lots of water, staying out of the sun. And the other thing is not smoking. So the influencer there was that I had parents with heart disease. My mother had died when I was 5 due to heart disease, the impact of heart disease that she acquired when she was a nurse. She'd gone from a pathogen-free country environment in rural New Zealand to a place full of pathogens when she went to do her nursing training. So she got lots of childhood diseases. It weakened her heart considerably, and when she had children late in life, her heart wasn't strong, it gave out. So and my dad had a heart attack from years and years of smoking. So I was quite predisposed not to go down the smoking route. And then at about age 7, some friends got together and somebody had got hold of some cigarettes, and we tried them, and they just tasted so dirty and foul. That was it. I was convinced for life. So although I have my Achilles heel, which is sugar, and we all know about the dangers of sugar, so that has inflammatory problems for me because I've got inflammatory issues relating to psoriasis, being very open here, and arthritis. I need to sort of moderate that, and I also have to look at that because when I had my twins, so children number 3 and 4, I've got gestational diabetes. So I was warned, you have to watch that because by the time you're 50, and I'll be 50 this year, you'll have a higher likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes. So I do try to be careful about that. But definitely, it comes back to those choices, Jeanette, that you were saying. Healthy choices, healthy outcomes, really. And the sooner you can make that, the better. So I'm trying to sort of teach my children that and promote that message elsewhere. So yeah, that was the conversation.
Can I thank you? You saved me asking the embarrassing question as to what your age was, which I did at our social meeting, and I was blown away. I didn't believe you.
By the way, Brian, can I add something there?
Yes,
Isabel,
sure.
thanks for that. I'll just give you one of my big passions for the last, I don't know, many 10 years, is that I live in the Netherlands. And when I come home and visit my mother, and she's listening now, the water, when I turn on the tap, I can smell the chlorine. When I drink the tea, I can taste the metals. So we're living in a country surrounded by water, beautiful mountains, streams, and we're drinking poison. And that's my message. Just even if I was to get, you know, water into everybody's homes, we would make a huge difference. And of course, the big thing for me is the mind. I realized when I started tapping into my subconscious mind and changing that started making all the changes.
Thank you, Jeanette. Any other volunteers? Thanks, Isabel, for sort of giving that excellent feedback. And I think it would be a good idea if we
So
think
can I just jump
healthy,
in?
produce. I'm thinking that Think Healthy Me could do case studies of people who've changed their lifestyle and benefit as a result. You're going to say something, Isabel?
No, I think it was Angela.
Yes,
Angela, over to you.
thank you, Bradley. Yes, I just want to add confirm what Jeanette said. You can have the best food in the world, you can have the best water, the best air, but if your mind is full of muck, it's not going to help. It all starts in your mind, and it's all of us. And I think it's for everybody that we are enough. I'm enough. And not blocking ourselves all the time, because this is what we tend to do, because our subconscious wants to keep us safe, keep us with the habits, with what we're used to. And every time we try, and I know this personally from the last couple of weeks, what happened to me, I've moved house after living in the same house for 30 years, and I've been here for a month and I'm still struggling. I still think this is not my house, this is not my house. And it's my mind going back to what I knew before for 30 years going back. So I have to train myself. This is my house now. It's better. And we've got to train ourselves. It all starts in our subconscious. Everything, it starts there.
Okay, thank you. We've had a question coming from Steve Porter, and he'd like to know, why do people suffer particular ingredient intolerances like he does? So Jeanette, could you answer that for us?
Yeah, it depends. It's very difficult to give you a general answer on that, because we talked about bio-individuality, and it can also happen from getting a bacterial infection, you know, something that got into your bloodstream and has created it. So it's like, it's what I do always say to people, the foods that are most, like, they cause most problems are eggs, citrus foods, and wheat is really causing a huge amount of problems. And you know, keeping away from anything that's, I'm even answering, somebody's got another question here, any foods that have any chemical names, to stay away from them. But in Steve's case, it's kind of like a professional, he'd have to go to a professional, get tested with his blood and get the specific reason why he's got that. So that's, yeah, that's my answer there.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. We've probably got time for about one more question, and I'd like to hand over to Tracy. She had her hand up earlier. So Tracy, over to you.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, is there foods I should avoid, because I don't have a gallbladder?
Okay, Jeanette, could you answer that for us?
Yes, the things you need to avoid when you don't have a gallbladder is any fatty foods, fried foods, pastries, wheat. Just stay away from any kind of fatty foods, because the gallbladder is there to actually get the fat, you know, it breaks it down to the fatty acids. So I would just avoid any fried foods and baked goods. That'll help enormously. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Sadly, we haven't got time for any more. If anyone's got any more questions, please feel free to email us at thinkhealthyme.co.uk. info@thinkhealthyme.co.uk. Okay, can I hand back over to Brian?
Okay, I've just noticed a question from Lottie about drinking water. We will respond to questions that we haven't answered directly by email. Is that okay, Lottie?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Jeanette's got the answer, but we haven't got the time. Okay, could I hand over to Elizabeth? You've read her profile and she's very bubbly, I'll warn you. And away you go, Elizabeth.
Thank you. It's always good to warn people. Okay, now this is the tricky bit. I need to share my screen. This bit always makes me nervous. I love technology. When it goes wrong, it's awful. Like now. There we are. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Good, good, good. Okie dokie. So this is me. My name is Elizabeth Davidson, and I was a typical low calorie, low fat exerciser. And so refueling on the wrong kinds of food after my exercise session. So heavily carbohydrate based. But I had frequent colds, 3 or 4 colds a year, missed out on so many Christmas parties, it was awful. But worse than that, bouts of irritable bowel syndrome. And I went for years not actually knowing what it was, and then it was diagnosed. And I wasn't really given any help for it, to be perfectly honest. And so my last bout of IBS landed me in the hospital. So it was pretty bad. Obviously, I recovered to tell the tale, but that was my diet and lifestyle which caused that, until 2012, when I started to turn things around. So I am also a ambassador for the Public Health Collaboration, and Public Health Collaboration is a charity organisation dedicated to improve public health. And I always advise, if anyone's involved in health, then get hold of this company and join them as an ambassador to start, or to help them spread the word. And I am a certified primal health coach. Now, primal is ancestral living, but in the modern world. And this doesn't mean you have to run down the road after you're killed with a spear and in a loincloth. It simply means that by doing the right things, you can allow your body to take back control of your health. And you can do that by eating the foods which we are meant to eat, moving in a manner in which we are supposed to move, and living in a way we are supposed to live. And by doing that, this means you get optimized gene expression. And basically that means you can minimize the risk of illness and disease and viruses if you give your body what it needs. So as you saw, a quick peek, 2.5 million years of tip-top gene expression has allowed us to become fit, healthy and strong. But something has gone horribly wrong. But it can be fixed, and you can turn some health issues around in just 21 days. So a lot can happen in just 21 days. My wee clicker's not working. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at is to eat as you should be eating. Move as you should be moving, and live as you should be living. So if we look at this first, eat as you should be eating, part 1. And this is to avoid poisonous things. What are poisonous things? Firstly, refined oils. So these are sunflower oils, regardless of what you've been told. They are vegetable oils, because these oils are highly toxic to your system. But so why bother avoiding these foods? They go through about 20 stages of extraction, and including part of the extraction is heat up to about 200 degrees. So straight away, that oil is spoiled, it's rancid, it's been oxidized, and it's no good. So we take these oils home, we buy them in the supermarket, we take that home and we cook with them, and that adds more oxidation to the oil. And on the consumption of those oils, your body produces an over excess of free radicals. Now, free radicals are spoken about now. They damage your healthy cells. And these oils produce an over excess of those free radicals. It's really, really bad news. So what does this mean for you? It means if you avoid these oils, you can extend the lifespan of your healthy cells. That's amazing, just by avoiding these oils. They're also very, very high in omega-6. Now, omega-6 is an essential oil, but in abundance of omega-3, it causes inflammation. So if you avoid these refined oils, you can prevent inflamed arteries, which lead to heart disease. And another reason to avoid refined oils is the damaged oils bind to the essential enzymes which are involved in fat metabolism. So you don't get to break down these fats properly. So you don't get any health benefits, and you can also lack in energy. So by avoiding these refined oils, you can improve your weight, you can manage your weight, and you have more energy available to you. And also by avoiding these oils, you minimize the risk of illness, disease, and viruses. So the sunflower oil, which is touted as very healthy, no, it isn't, because it's a refined oil. And here's something you may not know. Vegetable oils were recognized in the 1940s to damage human health, and yet they are still pushed as healthy oils today. So look out for those. Okay, sugars. Now, we all know about sugar, but why should you bother to avoid sugar? They're carbohydrates. These sugars, they burn in a very dirty manner. So when they burn, they cause a lot of smoke. And that smoke adds to the free radical production, the excess of free radical production. So they're dirty burning. And so, you know, what does this mean for you if you avoid them? You can look younger for longer. Woohoo! Who doesn't want that? Another reason, as you all know, these sugars raise your blood sugar. And if you've got high blood sugar, you've got circulating insulin in your system. So, and that causes a problem. So if you avoid these refined sugars, you can minimize the risk of diabetes. You don't want all that insulin storing in your system. And as was mentioned earlier, sugars cause inflammation, and inflammation has been found to be at the root cause of most illnesses and diseases that we see today. So it's so important to reduce that sugar for the inflammatory effects. And you get less joint pain. If you're, if you've got inflammation going on, that's your joints as well. So general aches and pains can be reduced, if not eliminated, by taking away these sugars. And I've seen it many, many times. And of course, your bad gut bugs love sugar. So they have a field day on this sugar and they proliferate like rabbits. So what does this mean for you if you avoid them? Number one, fewer cravings. Your gut bugs are shouting out, "Oh, give me more sugar." And sugar to the brain is a dopamine kick. Ping. Whoa, and your brain's shouting out more sugar. So by taking these sugars out, or at least reducing them way down, you can prevent the cravings, which are really hard to ignore. Also, 70% of your immune system, or around 70%, is located in your gut. Really important to keep your gut healthy. 80% or around 80% of your feel-good hormone, serotonin, is produced down there. And also around 90% of your neurotransmitters are produced down there. And the neurotransmitters are the signals between gut and brain. So it's really important to keep your gut healthy for these reasons alone. And of course, by avoiding these sugars, it minimises the risk of illness, diseases, and viruses. And here's something else that you may not know. All the while you have high blood sugar, you've got insulin in the system. All the while you have insulin in your system, any fat burning is put on hold, it's slammed shut, because it's so important to draw that excess blood sugar out of your blood. But what does that mean for you? Do you recognise that maybe 2 o'clock energy slump after your healthy whole grain or healthy snack, you know, if it's high in sugar, you get a lull in the afternoon, you're lacking in energy. That's because your body can't access your body fat for fuel. There's no sugar left in the blood because the insulin's drawn it out. So if you recognise that afternoon slump, that's exactly what's happening. And of course, that is going to affect weight management. If you're not able to access your body fat for fuel, you're not going to be able to manage your weight effectively. And this is a big, big problem where just calorie counting alone is concerned. Okay, so the next poisonous things are your refined grains, your wheat, your barley, your rice. These are refined grains. So your breads, your pasta, those kinds of foods, obviously your pastries and your biscuits, refined, mostly wheat. Wheat is very, very troublesome, as Jeanette has already mentioned. But why bother avoiding these grains, these cereals, breads, pasta? Well, the major problem is the effect is exactly the same as sugar. They do raise your blood sugar. You have insulin in your system. And if you're consuming healthy whole grains for breakfast, lunch, and your evening meal, you've got a number of blood spikes a day. And that is troublesome. And that is what leads to diabetes. Plus, there are components of grains called phytates, and these actually deplete you of essential vitamins and minerals. They bind to these minerals and they take them out of the body, so you can become deficient. So if you avoid these refined grains, you get to keep all of your nutrients. All the nutrients you eat, you get to keep them. But there's more. These refined grains also contain things called lectins, and you'll know this. Most of you will recognise gluten. That is a lectin, very, very damaging to your gut lining, and it is spoken about more and more, but not enough. Especially wheat is very, very spiteful, and if you can avoid most of these refined grains, you can prevent digestive discomfort, digestive damage, plus minimise the risk of ending up with an autoimmune condition. And there are over 100 of those. And if you don't have one of these conditions, you will know someone who has. This is MS. Even fibromyalgia now is going to be put under that umbrella. Psoriasis, eczema, issues with thyroid, they are all autoimmune conditions, and this is brought on by leaky gut, which is brought on by refined grains. And of course, if you avoid them, you minimise the risk of illness, disease and viruses. And here's something that you may not know. Carbohydrates are not an essential fuel. We can produce our own glucose from within by using our own body fat. And if you go back to that little twigs cause a lot of smoke. So this is how the carbohydrates burn. If you imagine damp twigs on a fire, lots of smoke. Your own body fat burns like a big fat log, and it keeps you going for a long time. And there's less smoke, so less free radical damage. Okay, so what do? You eat as you should be eating. So this means eat what nature intended you to eat. So we have low starchy vegetables. So these are green, colourful, the ones grown predominantly above the ground. Green, colourful, use raw and cooked for the different types of fibre, and fermented for probiotics. And green and colourfuls will give you vitamins, minerals and antioxidants. So load your plate up with low starchy veggies. Quality proteins, so meat, fish, poultry, seafood, organ meat if you can stomach it. Healthy fats, olive oil, avocado, butter, coconut oil. There'll be an oil in there that you like and that you can tolerate. And lastly, hydrate. So important to stay hydrated, and you can do this. Brad's got his water. With water and fruit and veggie infused water. If you say, I don't like water, it's too boring, put some fruit in there. Cucumber is fantastic, or maybe even some mint. Okay, so the next thing, so that was eat as you should be eating. Now we look at move as you should be moving, and it's not 40, 60 minutes plus in the gym every day like I did. Move frequently at a low pace. So find things you like to do. Could be dancing, could be hula hooping, it could be cycling. Make sure you enjoy it and do it often. Movement breaks, movement breaks during the day, every 30 minutes. Don't sit for too long, don't stand for too long. Get up and move. And we like to do a little bit of dancing, don't we, Brad, for our movement breaks. Lift heavy things, and you can use your body weight, but lift heavy things. And this is all mimicking how we used to exercise. Well, we didn't exercise, but how we used to move during our ancestral days. We never exercised. We would move a lot. We would lift heavy things, building. And then every now and again, sprint once in a while. Literally just leg it, get your breath, do it again. And this again mimics how we should be moving. So if you imagine ancestral times, you would sprint for your kill or to save being killed. That's how we should be exercising. Okay, Brian, I saw that. Live as you should be living. Simply slow the heck down. We do too much too quickly. Get adequate sunlight and embrace the great outdoors. Rest well and sleep well. Difficult to do, but try and find ways to do it. And the results, this is my mum. She had high blood pressure, aches and pains, out of breath. She couldn't walk and talk at the same time. And eating, moving, living as she should allowed her to lower her blood pressure, walk and talk at the same time, and she feels great. My sister, a typical yo-yo dieter, uncomfortable, embarrassed, lack of confidence. She took on board and, ate, lived and moved as she should, and she can now hold her head high and she feels fantastic. And this was me as a dieter and exerciser. You can see I'm a bit puffy around the gills, and this is me when I stopped dieting and exercising. So quite a big difference. So quickly, the benefits of living an ancestral lifestyle. You can feel supercharged like the Duracell bunny and fire on all cylinders. You can reduce bloating, embarrassing bottom burps and digestive discomfort. Minimise the risk of a number of illnesses and diseases. You can improve gut health, the core of overall wellness. You can manage your weight and gain back confidence. And you can delay the signs of aging and increase your lifespan. And who wouldn't want that? I thank you.
Thank you. That was absolutely marvelous. You ran a little bit over time, as you know, but a picture speaks 1,000 words. The pictures of your mum and your sister and yourself, quite incredible. So over to you, Bradley, for questions, comments, suggestions.
Okay, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Elizabeth. A very, very powerful presentation there. Has anybody got any questions to put forward to Elizabeth today?
Well, was Jeremy ready to speak?
Yes, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Bradley. Lizzie, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm so impressed with all of that. And so this is more of a comment that as a fellow public health collaboration ambassador, that I agree with everything that you put forward there. I'd just like to make a quick comment on a small anecdote that I had just yesterday regarding your seed oils. We were out in the country, my wife and I, and we saw on a fence there was a notice that had been put there by the farmer, and he was talking about the rapeseed oil on this little notice that he grew, and saying that it is used in vegetable oils, but then he also said it's used in lubricants to make cling film and also biodiesel. So my thoughts were, why would we want to be eating something which can make cling film? It doesn't make sense to me.
No. And
Thanks.
rapeseed is the old canola oil, and canola oil was used for machinery. So that's now rapeseed. So you do have to think twice. It sounds ghastly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for that. We've had a comment come up in the chat box from a lady called Karen Irwin, who indeed is Brian's lovely daughter, and she found it really interesting, and it's the way that Brian has most addressed his diabetes over the last few years. So I thought I'd read that out to you, because I find that incredible. So thanks for that, Karen.
Can I just say that everything that Jeanette and Elizabeth have said ties in precisely with what I had to do over 2 years to reverse type 2 diabetes. So I found that reinforcing and extremely valuable. And thanks for reminding me, Karen.
Okay, anyone else got any other questions or comments? Especially around Elizabeth's presentation.
Oh, there's hi, Brad. I was just
Hi, Colin.
No, just a very quick point. Both the presentations are pretty good and so much in there. Is there anywhere we can, I mean, apart from having a private consultation or anything regarding information, just in a general sense, is there anywhere we can get more information on this? Because there's lots of stuff. I've tried to write things down and got lost with half of it because there's so much coming out. Is there anywhere we can sort of spot up on this if we're not? I mean, I don't have anything in particular that, as far as I'm aware, that needs adjustment on the food front. But it would be good to be able to read more of this and digest more of it, to use a phrase.
Okay, so what we're planning to do is to send out a recording of this webinar to everyone that's attended, and the few people that said they couldn't actually make today. So we'll certainly get that out to you, and there'll be more information available on our website. And yeah, any other comments from Jeanette and Elizabeth?
Just to let you know, Colin, it's very difficult to get this information into 15 minutes. Absolutely. It's like, what do you choose to tell? But I've got like a number of them. I think of about 9 presentations. I've put it into little, it's like 15 minutes. So because that's all that people can handle hearing. And if you just get one thing out of it, it's great. Just drinking clean water or whatever, or just not take the oils. But it's a process. So, hopefully we'll be able to kind of do the step-by-step presentations. And then it's all the little pieces of the puzzle come together. And then at some stage you get this moment where you go, I get it. And then you go on that journey of just changing your life and in every way. And it's so cool. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of 2 steps forward, 1 step back all the time. And you're just a work in progress till probably the rest of your life, so yeah, but it works.
Thank
you.
It's my turn to close the webinar. We have adhered strictly to time so far, so I don't want to spoil that. We're getting questions coming in. We will answer them, but we have to finish at 12 o'clock prompt. I'd like to thank Janet and Elizabeth, aren't they bubbly? Have they inspired you? Have they enthused you? They've inspired me, and I don't need inspiration. Thank you to all the people behind the scenes who contributed to forming this and organizing this webinar. We will be running a series of lifestyle webinars, and we are very happy to repeat any that we run for yourselves, your family, your colleagues of work. It's important that we hear from you, and we will be sending you out a survey monkey. So please, please give us your feedback. We value this, and we will design webinars based on your particular needs. The other thing is that I mentioned earlier, we tried to design a definition of healthy living. When I got to 250 words, I thought, people aren't going to understand this. So, out of the blue, one of the directors suggested a Think Healthy Me template that actually describes healthy living. And could John put it up for me, please?
Okay, I'm trying to do it now.
Okay. Right, this is it. It actually starts from the top with clean, fresh air and clean water, which have already been mentioned by the speakers. Real food, that's been mentioned. Physical and mental well-being and pain-free, that's been mentioned. Safe, secure and warm place to live, so as that in the circle of life. An income and work-life balance, plenty of exercise, rest, relaxation and sleep. So important. Happiness and enjoyment through family relationships and friends. Free from addiction. There are so many people addicted on drugs and nicotine and drink. Positive relationships, so important. And definitely for me and my daughter, being closely connected with nature. Now, this is in progress at the moment. If you would like it when we've completed it, because we have in mind producing an app, so you can self-assess how healthy otherwise you are. So please let us know, and we would be happy to send you a copy of this once we've completed it. So that's very much all from me. I'd like to thank you for your contribution and look forward to our next webinar, which is the 3rd of September. So have a good day, and I think we're just about on time. So thank you, everyone, indeed. All the best. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.